With all the talk about walking out of Holmes and Watson, what movies have you walked out on? The Snowman. It was a funny experience in a theater of 30-40 people. About every 10 minutes, a group would leave out of boredom or at the absurdity of the plot. I think we made it most way through the movie and decided to leave the one man attending the movie alone as the sole survivor. I had to look this up because I thought you were talking about the 1982 The Snowman, which is a delightful silent hand-drawn animation. I was ready to call blaspheme. Thanks for the warning about this one. I didn't walk out myself, but I remember seeing Mike Mayer's portrayal of the Cat in the Hat in theaters when I was younger, and like 20 people ended up leaving with their kids because they thought it would be more child-friendly. That was pretty amusing. Yes, I saw a couple of parents take their kids out of it after the dirty ho line. Mom pulled us out of Yes Man when Jim Carrey was banging the grandma when I was around 12. Ah yes, I had a similar Jim Carrey experience when my father took me and my two brothers to this movie at the age of 11. He, however, kept us there through the whole film. My mother-in-law told us over dinner how she had to walk out of a movie she went to see with her boyfriend. It was too intense and violent. The movie, Ice Age 2. Goatee. I don't know if it's the Scientology or the abundance of plastic surgery, but wow, John Travolta is just a husk of a human being with the acting skills of a toad. I saw this on a third date. The girl and I had phenomenal chemistry before, but this movie was so bad that we both ghosted each other afterwards. Oh, my favorite walkout story is the Turkish grandmother and her two small grandchildren. We went to see the first Ted movie when it came out. The whole theater was packed with families with small children. Because a teddy bear instantly says children movie, I had to check with the couple sitting next to us if we were in the correct theater. Flash forward with a lot of awkward parents and kids asking what the teddy meant with that. There is suddenly a joke which ended with "At least she gave a better BJ than that Arab H." That was the Kfil grandmother to stand up, scream at the children to get up and drag them out of the theater. Best movie experience I have ever had. A film about a teddy bear must be innocuous. The R rating was probably just a mistake. We walked out of Amityville Horror, original theatrical run, because someone puked and the whole theater smelled like popcorn vomit. Hollow Man. My mom knew Kevin Bacon was in it, and she liked him in Footloose, so it must be good. We made it to the scene where he rapes his neighbor, and my mom realized this probably wasn't appropriate for a 9-year-old. I walked out on The Grudge. Turned out there were a bunch of teens in the theater that night. They all screamed or laughed in unison at every little thing. I'm talking during the opening scenes even. I left after 15 minutes because I had no idea what was going on and couldn't even hear the dialogue. Never walked out on a movie for thinking it is terrible though. This happens a lot with horror films because the teens usually want to prove to their friends that they're not scared. When I worked at a theater and we showed the French film Irreversible, the entire audience walked out of every showing halfway through. Literally no one stayed to see the end. Halfway through is the most violent debauchery in any movie ever, and it goes on for about 20 minutes. I got kicked out of a theater. Me and my dad did. We used to have family Fridays and we would vote on what to do. Majority rules. My mom and both of my sisters voted to see Titanic 3 weeks in a row. During the scene where people are falling off the ship, one guy hits the propeller on the way down and does some nollie flips. My dad was joking about it earlier in the week, so when we saw the scene again both started laughing and eventually got asked to leave. What a dong move by one of the adults in the room to vote to go to the same movie 3 times running, lol. Also, I remember the propeller scene also, the most memorable part of the film to me. Downsizing was one where my whole family looked at each other trying to decide if we should or not. My wife and I rented it the other night. The last half hour was so preachy I walked out. I'm still in the garage as I type this. My mom made us walk out of Alexander during the first 15 minutes of the film screaming about gay love. She threw a fit in the lobby trying to get our money back. I was too young to really understand why, but old enough to be embarrassed. Slenderman. To be fair, it was the theater's fault. They had just renovated and they had a new light that was aimed directly at the screen. Management was asked multiple times to fix it so we could, actually see the movie, but they never did. I made it about 20 minutes. Wasn't hooked on the story, but I honestly didn't even see much of it on the screen. I think the theater did you a favor distracting you from that nauseating years too late trend exploiting cash grab abortion. Just watch the Marble Hornets series instead. Grandparents took me to see Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone when I was about 5/6. Once Professor McGonagall transformed from a cat into a human, I burst into tears and we all had to leave. I later went on to read all of the books and love Harry Potter, so I had a great change of heart on everything. The end of the movie where you see Voldemort's face really scared me as a kid. The only movie I walked out on was Daddy Daycare because me and my friend realized there was way too much security at the time to sneak into the Matrix Reloaded, which was our original plans. I love Daddy Daycare NGL. Aragorn was just a crap show. Gone when she flew into the sky and came back all grown up. WTF. I was so distraught after the movie. The books were fantastic, but they cut out such an astounding amount of important content that it felt like a 90-minute trailer. My father took my young sister and I to Bruce Almighty thinking it was a religious comedy and he would make us like the church. It was not. I've only walked out of one movie, the latest Fantastic Four movie. It took for fricking ever to get to the point and it wasn't worth it. What? Almost an hour in and nobody had superpowers yet. At that point, either they'll rush the rest of the movie or it'll be too long of a movie. Either way, I didn't stick around to find out. Not surprised it bombed. Just picked us up on clearance for $2. Might have spent too much. When I was 12, I walked out of the Ring when they showed that girl's face in the closet or whatever. Since I was crying like a bee, the theater manager let me and my friends see Rush Hour 2: I've always wanted them to re-release The Ring in 3D, but make the entire thing 2D so people forget, right up to the point when she climbs out of the TV. I've never walked out of a movie, but if it had been a cooler day I'd have done so with Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. Air conditioning is a powerful motivator. The Last Airbender. My siblings and I loved the TV series to death and we organized a big group of friends to come see the midnight premiere. I was already worried because the trailer was really bad, but I still had hope. I was so sad and annoyed that I left the theater for about 20 minutes and hung out in the bathroom. I eventually went back because all my friends were there. The Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage and 9 with Daniel Day-Lewis and Marion Cotillard. I saw The Wicker Man at home with my dad and we both almost walked out of our apartment. Epic movie. I'm not sure anyone else even remembers that it exists, and good for them. I can't believe those types of movies were so popular for like a decade just because a scary movie was a sleeper hit. Why did people walk out of Holmes and Watson? It's bad. I appreciate good dumb humor but there's very few funny moments. Ferrell's accent is distracting and there's a lot of mismatched dubbing. I read somewhere it was supposed to be a more raunchy movie but the studio forced them to tame it down. Not sure if that's true or not but it definitely either needed to go way more raunchy or way less. It just sucked. Dragon Ball Evolution, and I saw it on the plane. Jack and Jill. I thought F would be worth it even though I knew it would be awful. Similar to Sharknado the Room Energy movie, it's worth being able to make fun of rather than its face entertainment value. I got about half an hour through before I had to turn it off. It wasn't just uninteresting but it was actively making me cringe and angry. A movie so bad Adam Sandler won both the Razzie for Worst Actor and Worst Actress. My grandma walked out of Bruno. As to why we took her to see Bruno was because we thought it was like Borat. It wasn't. My dad walked out of the Happy Time Murders after watching that cow get jerked off. I went to see Hairspray when I was around 7 because I was obsessed with Zac Efron at the time, but when I heard him curse, I was so devastated that my hero said a bad word that I had to leave. Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief. Biggest load of wank ever. Such a betrayal of my favorite childhood books. Still P. I love that the only person who hates it more than the fans is Rick. He'll be forever upset at those two movies and it's glorious. Every Thanksgiving we go to the movie theaters. 3 kids under 12 and my dad all went in to see Meet the Fokers. We didn't even make it past the first Foker scene before dad told us all to get up and leave. Dad was no longer allowed to pick the movie, and from then on we all saw whatever cartoon was released. Mother's Day. Thought it would be funny bad, was only half right. I wish I'd walked out of Meet the Spartans. We sneaked into that one, and I still wanted my money back. My ex-girlfriend's best friend got knocked up in the theater at that movie. I'm particularly proud that I didn't walk out of Highlander 4. I did walk out on Highlander 2, though. Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Dark Tower. Both were incredibly disrespectful to the source material and I hated them. Ah yes, there's Katara, who everybody loves for her deadpan exposition. Oh, and Sokka's great. I especially love it when he sulks about literally everything. And Prince Zuko's the bomb. His physical appearance being totally marred by his father who apparently only gave him a little baby burn that's barely noticeable. God, I hate it. Back to the Future 3. Electric went out in the theater exactly when Marty drove into the movie screen. Was trippy. The Truman Show. Before you rip me a new one, hear me out. So, I was 10 years old at the time and loved Jim Carrey movies. You know, Ace Ventura, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, etc. I went in expecting a hilarious movie, as I had not seen a trailer. But instead I get this somewhat depressing existential crisis film. I noped out about 30-40 minutes in and they let me pick another movie. Years later I watched The Truman Show and loved it, but at 10 years old I was not ready for it apparently. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.